Way back in 2015, I did a filmmaking challenge. I challenged myself to make an entire short film, all the way from coming up with the idea to posting the finished edit on YouTube in a month, every single month for an entire year.
Jess, did you hear that? Some fresh air sounds good, Alexa. I'm not going out there.
Are you drinking?
I haven't had a drink in 12 years. I don't want to do this, Alex.
One time I left a note under his door because he leaves his music blasting all the time.
I know there are things you're not telling me.
Don't even tell him. He can't be trusted.
I study psychokinesis.
What was that?
I'm Billy. I live in Unit 6.
Were you the one who left that anonymous letter about me turning down my music?
No.
It kind of seemed like a crazy idea at the time because I was working as a waiter at a chain restaurant. I certainly wasn't rolling in cash or connections, but I was really committed to the project, and in the end I made 8 short films in 8 months before I had to cut the project short for reasons that I'll get into later. So in this video I'm going to break down why I did it, how I did it, what went right, what went wrong, what I learned from the whole project, and what I would tell a hungry filmmaker who's thinking about doing something similar for themselves. Alright, so first let's talk about why even do this challenge. Making a short film is so hard. Why do it every single month? Well, at the time, me and my writing partner Chris had made a couple of pretty much no budget feature films, and we hadn't filmed anything in a long time. We'd really been focused on writing after that, and we'd written some features, but they were big budget films. We weren't able to film them. We didn't even have the resources or connections to get them out there to the industry. We were working really hard behind the scenes, but on the surface, we're just working as waiters. We were starting to feel like nobody's looking at us as filmmakers anymore. So we want to get out there in front of the spotlight. We didn't want to wait for film festivals and spend a bunch of money on the submission fees. We wanted to just hang it all out there for everybody to see on YouTube, improve at our craft every single month, experiment with new genres and new techniques, and show everybody what we can do, especially with extremely limited budgets and timelines.
You have to start small, and you have to believe you can do it.
So with that in mind, we just got started. Roll camera, be tapping the table, take 1. And let me be clear, there's no way I could have done this all by myself without having a partner like Chris to work with and divide the labor. That's the only way we were able to do a short film every month. If you want to see the short films, they're right here on my channel on the original short films playlist. You can figure out which ones are the monthly short films by the title. All of them start with the word "the." And that titling convention is actually something I stole from Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld on the show Seinfeld. They would title every episode with just the word "the" and whatever it was about. So The Bet, the Chinese restaurant, whatever. And we did the same thing, the ticket, the flash drive, the cheater. By doing that, we saved ourselves a bunch of wasted time coming up with clever titles that don't really matter, and we were able to unify the branding of all these short films so you could tell that they were all part of a series, even though they're different genres, they have different casts and everything like that. So most of them took place just in our apartment because that was what was free and available and easy to shoot in, and we would get friends to help out whenever we could. In some of the shorts, most of the budget just went to getting lunch for the handful of friends that helped us out on it. But as the project started getting a little bigger and more ambitious, we did start going outside of the apartment, and that's when things really started getting out of hand, but I'm gonna get to that a little later. And we were actually able to get a surprising number of locations out of this one location of our apartment. For example, in the first short film, The Cheater, we turned our apartment into a back room in a Las Vegas casino that's under construction. In The Neighbor, it was pretty much just our apartment as is. In the flash drive, we did a bunch of set dressing to change its appearance. And then The Victim is a short film that takes place with some girls camping in a tent in the woods, but that tent was just sitting in our living room. And the fact that we were able to get so many different stories out of this one location goes to show you that all of these tight deadlines and limitations were really just breeding grounds for creativity. And more than that, it was like we were in a simulator for being a professional in the film industry. Generally, we didn't start writing the next short film until the previous one was done. So we'd show up on day 1 of the month, and there's really no time for writer's block. You have to come up with something, and you have to start writing it out, and there's a really strict timeline you have to adhere adhere to if you're gonna finish your short within that month. And the name was Standard Story Company, so I really wanted all these films to feel well crafted from a writing perspective, make sure that the stories really came full circle. And I think we succeeded with that with each of the films. So for a novice filmmaker, that's a big paradigm shift. We were going from thinking about it kind of like a hobby that we're obviously really passionate about to something that really did feel like a job. We're working at it every single day, and we have real deadlines that we felt that we really have to meet. Another big advantage of doing this project was it really quickly expanded my network. Every single month I'm making a new short film, which means I'm working with usually new cast members, which means that my network of talent is growing faster than it ever had before. The few crew members that I would work with repeatedly on these, I got really tight with. In fact, one actor I worked with on some of these shorts introduced me to one of his producer friends, who I later directed and edited an entire web series for, which led to me starting a freelance editing career, which led to me having an editing job, and that's how I pay for this house. People around me started to think of me again as the filmmaker guy. I really became top of mind for them whenever they had needs of like, I need a director, I need an editor. And opportunities just became much more plentiful for me because of that. Another big advantage of doing this project, I got to play with all kinds of different genres and storytelling techniques. One month I'm doing a dark comedy, one month I'm doing a horror film, a thriller, sci-fi drama. Every time I turn around, I'm getting to try new things. And there was always that hope that just around the corner, maybe the next film I do is really going to resonate with an audience and either blow up on its own, or I'll find that it's an opportunity to expand this short into a feature or a TV show, something bigger. I even got to dip my toes into episodic storytelling for the first time with the Flash Drive series. We did part 1, which kind of ended in this open-ended kind of way, and we thought, down the road, let's come back to it and figure out where it will go from here. I really felt like I'm working on a TV series all of a sudden. Okay, let's figure out what's gonna happen. And there's no better challenge, I think, than trying to take a film that you made and bring it full circle over the course of 2 other films when you're completely pulling it out of your ass, but trying to make it seem like it was all intentional from the very beginning. And that's basically what writing the Flash Drive was. Now, one of the downfalls of this project was that I didn't realize that doing these films every month was going to kind of inherently mean that they were going to be a lot less personal than the other films I'd done in the past, especially the ones that I'd spent a lot of time on, like the features or some of the bigger short films. In the end, I was really working out my filmmaking craft muscles as opposed to pouring my heart and soul into each and every one of these shorts. Now, this is good and bad. On the one hand, I'm getting the experience of what it's like to be a hired gun filmmaker in a lot of ways. On the other hand, though, it really encouraged a superficial type of storytelling that isn't really what I want to do with my career.
As a career, I thought it was beneath me. Artistically.
I started to think of it like these longer projects, like the features, that was kind of like getting married. You know, there's a deep sense of commitment and love and expression with them. And then with these shorts that I'm doing every month, it's kind of like a little one-night stand, you know? I'm kind of just, in a way, going through the motions and just trying to make the story work from a nuts and bolts point of view. But my heart wasn't really in any of them. I was just trying to meet the deadline and make the best thing I could under the limitations that I had.
Do you wanna talk while we're naked?
No.
So I was kind of getting in reps, working out my storytelling muscles, but I wasn't innovating in any kind of way. And hand in hand with that, it also prevented me from working on any long-term projects where I could do that, just because this was obviously an extremely time-consuming project. I don't have any extra time to go out and make another feature on the side. It's just not gonna happen. Each month we really wanted to outdo the previous month's film, and that actually ended up leading to our demise because we just got more and more ambitious, which ultimately meant that the budget and the resources that we required for each film got bigger and bigger to the point where we just busted out. For example, in the first couple of films, we spent no money on crew. We had a couple friends come in and help hold the camera or hold the boom mic, but that was it. Then we felt like we had some quality issues with the production value on those, like sometimes the sound wasn't too great, sometimes the camera was shaky, and we didn't want these things to be Avatar or whatever. We just wanted to make sure that the production value was never going to be distracting from the story. So for the next short film, we hired out a DP to come in. We worked for a very reasonable rate, but still, we're now spending a good amount of money just to get the film in the can. And then for the next short film, I felt like the visuals were going to be easy enough to handle by myself, but the sound was going to be really tricky because the whole short film took place in a moving car. So I hired a sound guy to come in. And then of course, in the next short film, I ended up hiring both. And then that became the norm for the rest of the shorts.
We were doing really well until about a month ago.
So now the crew for the short films have gone from costing $0 to costing Quite a bit of money for a couple of broke waiters. And even though we were able to shoot most of these shorts in just a day, those costs really did add up and lead to our ultimate demise. Then when we get to The Flash Drive Part 2, we do our first sequel. And for that one to work, we have to find a motel room, and we can't make our apartment look like one. We have to go get a real one. We finally find one, but to sign the location agreement, they want a lot of money. And obviously, you know, even though we're putting them on YouTube, none of them are making more than like $20 in YouTube ad revenues. So we're not making any money off this stuff. It's all just for exposure and for practice. So we can't justify spending a bunch of money on them. Well, by the time we finished The Flash Drive Part 2, we were pretty much broke, but we had to finish off that trilogy at least, so we wrote one more. We went all the way with it. I think it was a 2 or 3 day shoot. By the end of it, we were completely tapped out, and we had to go on hiatus with this project. So we really thought, oh, we'll finish up here. We'll get some more money together, we'll come back, and we'll do another round of shorts. But of course, once we took that hiatus, it just led to us working on other long-term projects, and we never got back to doing this project just because we couldn't make it make financial sense to keep doing it.
And money's a great motivator.
So the big mistake we made was we just didn't set a hard budget for these films. Every film should have had the same budget, whether that's like $300 or $500, instead of allowing it to expand based on whatever we wrote. And it's a good goal to focus on one-upping the previous film, but we should have focused on doing that through creativity as opposed to spending more money or spending more time doing all this hustling, producing.
I can't believe you just did that.
So after all that, was it worth it? Well, obviously it financially completely wiped me out. It was a long slog, it was a lot of work, but that said, it was absolutely worth it, and I would 100% recommend it to any young filmmaker. Besides having 8 new short films and really expanding my body of work and my network and all of that, it really helped my confidence because, you know, a lot of filmmakers have this imposter syndrome where we feel like, oh, even if we did have a success, that was just a fluke. I got lucky there, but they're gonna find out that I'm really just a hack and I can't do that again. But when you have to make a short film every month and you manage to make them work, you really do start to internalize the fact that I don't need a stroke of inspiration to be able to make something good. If I just put in the work and show up every day, I can churn out one good film after another. It's just a matter of showing up and getting enough at-bats to make it happen.
Believing you can do it is the most important part.
And more important than that, it was just a lot of fun. I mean, you're making a new film every single month and you're avoiding all of the bull that goes with filmmaking. You're not sending to film festivals. You're not waiting around to get permission to do anything. You're boiling down the process to just the 2 most fun parts, which is actually creating and then sharing it with people. So at the end of the day, what happened with the actual films? Well, none of them blew up or anything. None of them got 1 million views or anything like that. We did get tens of thousands on some of them, which was pretty good. They did get a lot of engagement. They helped me grow the YouTube channel a little bit. In fact, I learned a ton about YouTube, and they introduced me to a ton of really talented actors that I hope to work with again one day. So that's it. That's how the filmmaking challenge ended. If you want to do the same thing, I highly recommend you check out my short film crash course. It'll give you all the tips and tricks that I use to make these short films. If you found any of this useful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really does help this little channel grow. And I'll see you next time with more.